Episode 13 with Mike Gage.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing today?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing better than you, I bet. I'm not the one recovering from a heart attack, so...
Who had a heart attack?
Yeah.
I don't know who had a heart
You
attack.
got that? Yeah, well, and you use that as the excuse to not come to my fundraiser last Saturday, so...
The things you got to do to get out of...
Yeah. Yeah, I've thought of ways to get out of a fundraiser. Having a heart attack's never been one of them, but...
I figured that was the only acceptable excuse. So.
Yeah. Well, I remember you telling me at first it was your back aching or something. You might not be able to make it. And then the next morning I get a text from your wife that you're at the hospital having a heart attack. So then I forgave you, kind of, maybe a little bit for not showing up. And but yeah, I mean,
I'll be at your inauguration.
Yeah, there you go. I was just glad you didn't have a heart attack when I was here, because it's a long way for the ambulance to get here, and yeah, I don't want to be doing CPR on you. So
there was no CPR needed. I had gotten into a couple compromising yoga poses and my back, and I was mining in some trees, because you don't dig holes out here, and pinched some nerves in my back, and which has happened before, and it just kept getting worse. That was on Friday, I believe it was.
Yep.
Saturday, kept powering through, pounding Advil and going about my day. Back pain kept getting worse, and it started moving around, and couldn't sleep, couldn't sit. Sunday morning, I told my wife, I'm like, I gotta go to the clinic or hospital, get a shot or muscle relaxer or something, because this is like just relentless, and back was just killing me. And so we went there, because everybody loves to go to the hospital on a Sunday morning. And I got into the ER. I'm like, my back is smoked. I was planting some trees. I pinched something. This has happened before, but not to this degree, but it feels similar to it. It's a larger area of pain. It's usually smaller, but either way, it still sucks. I need you to fix it.
Yeah.
Give me something. I don't know. Shoot it with cortisone to relax. Because there's some pinched nerves and herniated discs in the back from years of sports and work and stupidity.
Right.
So I figured I just pissed off a nerve. They did some tests, and they always do an EKG when you come in with anything. I mean, you can go in there with an earache and you're getting an EKG. And doctor came in and said, well, your back might be bothering you, but we need to get you to the cath lab. And I said, I'm sorry, for what? And he's like, he goes, you it looks like you got a blockage and you're having a heart attack. And I went, well, it's a family show, so I'll edit my response to that. But I was a little bit surprised nonetheless. And so was my wife. We just kind of stared at each other like, get the bleep out of here, right? I'm like, no. I said, so he brought in the EKG, and I saw it had ST elevation and 3 leads, and I'm like, oh, okay. Could that be wrong?
Right.
Because, I didn't feel faint. I wasn't pale. I wasn't sweaty, diaphoretic. I wasn't dizzy. I was nauseous a little bit, but that was because my back had been a 10 out of a 10 for 3 days.
Right.
So, it was just pain can do that to you. And he's like, no, he goes, I can tell just by your EKG, the region of the heart where the blockage is. I think I know where it is. He goes, I'll get in there and find it. And I'm thinking, I hope he's not wrong. I'm like, the whole time, I'm like, is he like a smart doctor? I'm like, is he bad at what he does?
Oh yeah.
I'm like, everything. Okay, so first off, Grandpa has a heart attack, right? That's how we grew up, right?
Right.
So I'm like, I'm too young for a heart attack. Secondly, it's usually like, oh, my chest, and they grab you and they fall over.
Right.
Plus, I've seen hundreds of those over the years, and so I'm like, this is what now. So I went with it though, because I got to believe him, right? Maybe that's what my back pain is. Took me to cath lab. Yeah, had a blocked right coronary artery. Put a stent in, and we talked the whole time he was in there drilling. Finally fell asleep. Slept for like a couple of days. They kept doping me up with. He said, just sleep. It'll, you're gonna feel sore and this and that. And stabbed me with every needle in the world. And let me out. Tuesday, right? And that's it.
Feeling better now?
Feel fine.
Yeah.
I feel as good as the day before I planted the trees and all that happened.
I wonder how much of your back pain was your heart acting up.
It might have, that's what he said too, and he said that's so. What happened was the clog was genetic, and that's why you get one random artery that's just, and it was 100% blocked. He said for a long time.
Okay.
So I was running for.
So you're a ticking time bomb.
Apparently. So he was telling me, he's had 20-year-olds in there with the same thing that are athletes, with a clogged artery,
right?
And it's just genetic. He said they're seeing more and more genetic issues like that are just passed down, right? I mean, I don't eat fast food all the time, or hardly ever. I don't smoke, I don't drink butter, right. So I'm very active. So I think what happens is it's just sometimes people are predisposed to that,
right?
Just like body's just saving lipids and plugging stuff. And he checked all my other pipes and they're wide open. Okay. He's like, you shouldn't have any. And he got heart attack out of the way early, so you can grow old.
No damage to the heart, or
no, my ejection fraction, all the tests in the heart were perfectly fine. He said you don't have any limitations. He said just don't do anything crazy the next couple of weeks, and then you can go about your
normal life.
And I feel great.
So that was a good way to get out of the fundraiser. You missed it. It was a great event. We had a great turnout. Raised a lot of money, much more than what I expected to raise. I had
very good
figured on a few thousand, and we did much better than that. So Rhonda and Todd did a wonderful job of putting this together, and Curry, Sharman, everybody, Julie was involved in it. Everybody just they went all out. And when I walked in there and I was just in shock. Just all the items they had there, the gift baskets people had donated, the decorating was it was amazing. And it was a fun event. We got to speak to the crowd.
Did you have a big turnout?
Yeah, I think at one time I think we got up to 100. It would people were coming and going, and bidding on things, and then going about their activities with other things they had planned that night. So
yeah, I really wish we could have made it.
It was a good time, and so now we got a lot of extra money coming in. So we're starting some more radio ads. We're going to do some TV ads. We're doing a lot of social media ads. So those videos were filmed. The videographer was there for the fundraiser, taking videos, and then he's doing some other videos around town and putting them with me. We recorded my voice saying things the other day. So that went good, and we had an event Wednesday night at a house to plan some things for the election. Yesterday was the radio show, so that went extremely well, and we're gonna, whenever you're ready, we'll kind of recap that. We got a function tomorrow night. Next Thursday night, we've got a couple different things. The Rescue Mission, I believe, is having a fundraiser thing. Out at the Butte Silverbow Event Center, they've invited all the candidates to come out and speak. I think I'm not sure the time, if it's 5 to 9 or 6 to 9 or something, next Thursday. It's posted on my Facebook link, and it's just a common sense conversations, to let all the candidates meet people and speak about their plan for the election and what they want to do if they get elected. And then I believe it's the 23rd, Butte Central is having a candidate forum where they've invited all the candidates to speak. I believe the students ask questions to the candidates in that one. So we've got a lot of things coming up. We're going door to door, putting up more signs. So yeah, we've had a busy week, and it's only going to get busier, and November 5th can't get here soon enough. So.
I bet not. I bet not. So will your opponent be there for that
I don't know.
Open forum?
I don't know. They sent I had kind of heard about it, some rumblings about it, and then yesterday we officially got the invite.
Okay.
So I don't know who's RSVP to that. I'm definitely going to it. I mean, I think any chance I can get to get out in front of a new crowd of people and let them hear my vision and my goals for the department. Yeah, I'm going to be there. So yeah, if you want me to speak, you want to hear from me, I can assure you I'll be there and come speak to you. So we'll get into trying to take the load off of you today. You know, I don't want you to have a big MI while I'm sitting here with you. So we'll talk about the radio show yesterday on KBOW.
Let's hear it.
Well, so one of the things that Ron Davis kept talking about was, he had heard my ads, and he wanted to know about my plan for the department, and what things were most important to me. And first thing was the narcotics.
Mm-hmm.
And as we keep stating over and over again, that there's nobody working narcotics in Butte-Silverbow. Butte-Silverbow does not have a detective that is assigned to work narcotics. I think everybody in Butte-Silverbow would agree that our number one problem is narcotics. So we're going to assign, depending on manpower. Again, I know another officer's getting ready to quit. I heard that. I got that call last night. I wasn't expecting this one to be quitting. I have met him before briefly. I think he was at the rodeo. He introduced himself to me, and it's a sad thing. I was really hoping he would stick it out, and I've heard that some of the others are not going to be sticking it out either, and I'm trying to convince them to let's see what happens at the election. I can promise you things are going to change the 1st of January, and give us a chance, but there's a good chance that there's 3 to 4 more that may leave here in the next few months. So that's sad, but so I may get I could get in there and I've got hardly anybody left in patrol, and that's probably my biggest fear is that happening, and you go in so short-handed that you can't follow through on some of the promises, but
it'll be like one of those tiny towns where the sheriff does a patrol in the booking, and
yeah, I mean,
you're a one-man band.
I talk to these people, and I'm at the point where I'm just begging, do not quit yet. Yeah. Wait till November 5th. I know you're applying elsewhere. I know you're talking to other agencies. Just hang on.
Do you know why they're so much pressure, not pressure, but so much consideration towards resignation?
Oh, they hate it here.
I mean, not all of a sudden, but we've been talking about this for months now, and now we're getting closer to the election, and it seems like more people are considering, like, I can't wait till November. I think I
Well, if you go back, look at the people that are retired with just 6 months left before their retirement, before they can hit their 20 years, or the people that are 16, 17 years on, and they just can't make it that next 3 or 4 years. And obviously that anybody in a leadership position would say, wow, we got a problem, we got to figure out what's going on here, and it just doesn't happen. And it's scary to think of what could happen here, but I'm going to keep trying to hopefully we pull this off in November, and these people will stay, and the other ones that are looking at leaving have all been here less than, well, I don't want to give it away. I don't want to be able to narrow it down. So we'll say they've all been here less than 6 years. So we'll go with that. So one of the things I'm going to realign the detectives unit, and we're going to have we really need to have 2 narcotics detectives right now. We probably, if we can get up to full strength in patrol, or when we get up to full strength in patrol, we'll probably put a couple officers on that their main job is to be also with the narcotics unit, where they're out there doing interdiction. Obviously, one of them would be the canine officer. That's what his focus needs to be on. Hope to get a couple more canines in there, and I had a meeting with a guy the other night that's retired. He was in charge of the Houston Police Department K9 unit. He can get us a couple of dual-purpose canines donated to us. So that's all in. Those things are in the works already. He's willing to assist us with the training program that he helped put together for Houston Police Department, and
he's a trainer. He's a dog trainer.
Yeah, he's a dog trainer too. So he's available to help with that, because having a dual purpose dog is new to Butte Silver Bow. And for those that don't know what that means, it is a narcotics dog as well as a patrol dog. So it's trained for narcotics, it's trained for tracking, it's trained to take down suspects as well. So he's volunteered to reach out to the group that does donate those trained canines to police departments. So that would be it. Obviously, there'd be no cost for the dog, for getting the dog. There would be cost for training the handlers. There would be cost for vet bills. There's cost for training, upkeep. So there are feeding.
Equipment for the dog.
Right. So there are agencies out there that also donate vests and for stab protection, for bullet protection for the dogs as well. So yeah, we're going to have some dual purpose dogs here.
Does Butte Silver Bow have a canine officer now?
They do. They do have a canine officer, and from what I understand, it was Honer, and now I believe his name is Jackson Kappas, I believe. And so he's got the newest dog now. Honer's still the canine supervisor, and but the dog's not a dual purpose dog. It's a narcotics dog.
Okay.
It may be trained for tracking too. I'm not sure. I would assume that it is. I could be wrong, but so we're gonna do a lot of interdiction. We're going to have people focus strictly on the narcotics. Probably make a narcotics supervisor. The patrol people would then report directly to who's ever in charge of the narcotics supervisor. They can exchange information.
Mm-hmm.
We'll work with the task force and DEA and stuff. Those people will be in charge of exchanging information, working directly with patrol as well to let them know what's going on within the narcotics investigations. So, if they need to keep an eye on something, a house, or look for a certain person, try to stop this person, and see if we can get some drugs off of them. So it's so that's going to be number one. Number two, and I don't even know if I've told you this. I think maybe we did. It was a couple days ago. I spoke with the Sunrise Kiwanis Club.
Yeah.
And they had some questions about hey, I had these tools stolen from me. The officer took the report. I never heard anything back. And so I reached out to some officers. I'm like, how does that happen? And I was shocked by the answers, and I reached out to several officers to confirm this, because I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. And to this day, it's probably it really bothers me, and I
was a bit surprised by it too.
Yeah, I've never heard of this happening. Yeah. I've been affiliated with several departments. I've trained with numerous departments. This one just shocked me. And so when I was speaking with the officers, they would say that if your house got broken into, and I just threw out $5,000 worth of stuff got stolen, and that patrol officer would come take the report, get the information that you had, and then he would be in charge of following up on your items that were stolen. So he would try to enter it, so the pawn shops would know, and then a couple days later, he's going to follow up. If you notice anything else missing, did you get any serial numbers that you didn't have? And in the meantime, this officer is getting more and more calls. So I might get 15, 20 calls a day, and those calls are now assigned to that officer. Those investigations are now assigned to that officer. So it's up to them to follow up and keep looking for these items. In the meantime,
it keeps piling up.
The calls keep piling up.
Right.
And so he's not out looking for your stolen items because his main job is patrol, and answering calls for service. You would think that a patrolman's job is to answer calls for service and try to stop crime, catch crime as it's happening, be on the lookout for people breaking into houses. That's not what they do here, and I didn't know this. And I spoke to officers that have been here a long, long time, and they say it's been this way since day one, since they've been here. And it's your call. You as the officer, that stays with you for 90 days. And then, at the end of your 90 days, you basically can put in there, you've done everything that you can. And if you imagine we'll just say, you take a call today, it's your Friday, towards the end of your shift that your stuff got stolen, and you write your report. Well, then you go on 3 days off. And then you come back 3 days from now, and you take your calls for that day, and then let's say you're on midnight, so you're supposed to follow up. Well, how am I supposed to follow up at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning? How am I supposed to find the victims, suspects, anything?
Start knocking on doors and making people mad, waking them up.
Yeah, or if you're a day shift officer, the people are at work. You can't get a hold of them. Plus, let's say, okay, my day ends at 6 o'clock at night. So I'm going to have to try to get these people from 5 to 6, but you get a call at 4:30 that takes you to the end of your shift, so you're not getting a follow up, and these calls just sit there.
Right.
I have not been a part of an agency where patrol does this. Patrol goes out, takes the initial call, does the investigation while they're there. They write their report, they clear the call, and then they go to the next call. Or they get free time, they go out there looking for drugs, they're looking for people committing crimes. At the end of their shift, they turn their reports in. And those reports are then reviewed by a supervisor. The supervisor, it depends, it may be his sergeant. We'll just say it's his sergeant, approves those reports for the end of the day. And then the next morning, a lieutenant comes in. Well, this is how we're going to do it. This is how it's done in every other department that I know of. The lieutenant would come in, and then he would assign those reports to the detectives. And I think you got 7 detectives, and then you got somebody that's kind of over the detectives. Maybe one of the captains that's over them. So it could be that captain over detectives, whatever. That he looks at the reports, and he assigns the reports to the detectives. And the detectives then, this case is still hot. It's still warm. It's still a warm lead. The detectives read through the cases that get assigned to them each day, and they go out and then they do the follow-ups. They take over the case from there. Patrol can't do it. That's why our patrol officers are acting as patrolmen. They're acting as the detectives on the case. They're getting paid for being patrol, and they're not being paid to do the detectives' jobs. Well, now I understand why the detectives don't work weekends here, because they're not following up on these cases. So, I mean, they can look at a case on the computer and they can assign themselves to a case right now. So a detective could come in and say, read the reports from the night before and say, oh, I'll take this one, or something, and I'll take it over from the officer and do that. But it's not assigned to them. So the detective should be getting all the cases from the night before when they come in and get them assigned. They should be immediately following up. So in my case, when I was a detective, I would get assigned, we'll say 5 or 10 cases that day. I would read through them, and you can read through them and figure out which ones you can probably solve pretty quickly, and which ones there's no suspects, there's no witnesses to it, there's no nothing, and it's going to take a back seat because you're going to go after the ones you can right away and get them cleared. So, but anyway, if your house was burglarized, I would call you and say, hey, Michael, this is Detective Gage with the Miami County Sheriff's Office. I've been assigned your case. Is there anything else that you can tell me that you didn't tell the patrol officer? Anything you thought of since the officer was out there? Have you found the serial numbers that you were looking for? Now, have you talked to your neighbors? Have they seen any suspicious vehicles? We would go out and then also talk to the neighbors to see if they had seen anything, check cameras, things like that. And that's the detective's job. That gives the patrol the opportunity to go out and do patrol things. Right. They're out there looking for crimes. They're looking for drugs. This is why somebody, I think, called in and asked a question. Why are we not ever finding any of these stolen items, and they're not being returned to the owners. And it's because typically those cases they're stagnant. They're stagnant from the time the officer leaves the scene. They're just sitting there, and the officer's trying to follow up, but he can't control the amount of times he's getting dispatched calls. So those cases just sit there. I didn't even know something like that existed, where you would do that, especially when you've got that many detectives that you can assign cases to, and then the detectives, they go through their cases at the end of the year. You want to close out these cases, and the detectives can, several, at the end of the year, you call these people up, you're going through all your old cases, and I might call you, and you had reported a case that was assigned to me where somebody, came out and bashed over your mailbox, hit it with a baseball bat or something, because kids like to do that sometimes. And I would just call you at the end of the year and say, Michael, hey, I'm just following up on this case. We haven't got any leads. We haven't heard anything about it. Are you still willing to prosecute if we find somebody, and take the time to go to court? You're going to say no.
I would say yes. Have you notified the FBI?
Yeah.
This is BS.
Now, most people are going to sit there and say no. So much time's passed. Hey, thank you for looking.
Right.
Go ahead and close it out.
Right.
And we close it out. Well, it is a closed case. And so you close it out, victim refuses to prosecute, and that does help your stats. But I mean, in reality, that's what you do to close out these cases. If you haven't found anything, you just be honest with them, say, hey, we've tried, we've got nothing, and
well, being that you talked to these officers, past and present, said, yeah, that's been our methodology for a long time. Did anybody offer any insight to how successful that is at closing cases, solving cases?
No, I asked the officers, what are the detectives doing?
I mean, how effective is that methodology?
Well, it's not working, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, and
it can't be.
Right, and I asked, what are your detectives doing then, and day in and day out? Every officer I spoke to said, I don't know. Now, we know the detectives are working. They're working on something. I don't know what it is, and maybe they've got some secret thing going on, and it's not their fault. I mean, it's not the patrolman's fault these cases aren't getting closed. It's not the detective's fault.
Oh, it's structured poorly. That's
right.
It.
It's the detectives' hands are tied too. If they're getting cases, something's coming up, 90 days after.
I mean, that's a glorified cold case by then. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How do you even begin to look for suspects?
No, I want my detectives to be successful, and sit there and
3 months later.
Yeah. Do you know how much fun it was as a detective to get a case the next day and have it be assigned to you, and you close it out a few days later or a week later,
right.
And you got them? That's how it should be.
Of course. And it's usually the same handful of people that are committing thefts. It's not like the city is, per capita. There's one thief for every citizen. It's not a thief. So it's not going to be an impossible task to figure out as long as you follow up.
The way they've got it designed right now is the reason you don't ever hear about somebody taking down or officers taking down the chop shops that exist in this town, or the theft rings, because it can't happen under that structure. There's no way. If you get a detective assigned to a case right away, and he's out there and investigating it, as it's a warm lead, he's going to end up finding the items. He's going to end up being able to figure out who's in charge of these theft rings and what, put an end to it. But the way it's set up now, it's set up for failure. There's no way that system can work. It is impossible for it to work. And
so why was it created? And who created it?
My guess is it's always been done that way. Right.
That's what I heard. So after you and I spoke, just throughout my normal few days of just chatting with a few officers that I've become friends with too, I'm like, how long has it been like that? And they were like, I can't. Before I got there, So it apparently it's past practice.
I had one of the senior officers tell me that it said this would probably be a shock from the administrators on down, because that's the way it's always been done. That's the way they know it, and so
the city never does like a policy review with each department. Apparently, like, let's look at policies. Can we do anything better?
You mean with other departments?
Well,
With
not just the law enforcement, not just with Butte PD, but I mean, like, let's say, like, Gallagher's office or the county attorney's office.
Well, I don't think they get involved with each other's things like that.
There probably should be a little oversight to say, hey, let's tweak this. This
well,
could be done better.
But they might not know. Nobody know. That's just it. None of them might know. And somebody's. We'll just say JP is not going to get involved in the law enforcement because he doesn't have a background in law enforcement. He's going to take their word on doing everything. So it can't be put on him at all. But you would think
a lot of cities have oversight committees where they review policies for other departments to say with lawyers, hey, we need to tweak this law, we need to tweak this code, we need to tweak this because we could, it's just a way of doing running it more efficiently. Because not everybody comes to the table with the law enforcement experience that you have. So when it's like, you don't have to be the smartest guy in the room, you just have to bring the right people with you.
Well, you got to bring the right people, and you got to bring new ideas.
Right.
And if it's just stagnant, if you're doing the same thing over and over again, obviously, we know how that ends. But
right.
Yeah, I maybe it's not the administration's fault because maybe they don't know any better.
They inherited
that.
That was
the way. Yeah, that was the way it's always been done, and they may not know that other departments. That's not how they operate.
So how many other policies do we not know about that are as crazy as that one?
I don't know. Well, that was one of the officers. That was one of the things I said. I was when I was talking to one of the officers, and I said, "How in the world did you not tell me this? Why am I just finding this out today? We're almost done with the campaign, and I'm just finding out today that this is how this is being run." And they started laughing. They're like, "Well, they didn't know any different."
Right.
So they go, well, maybe I ought to talk to you some more things because this is, I just didn't think it was a big deal.
Can you do they have SOPs you can get a copy of and review them?
Probably.
To see what other little nuggets that we don't know about?
Yeah, I mean, we'll find them out. But I mean, that's a change that I told people day one. Patrol, you're done. Get rid of. You're done with this case. You take the initial report. The detectives may follow up with you. Hey, can you go try to talk to this person for me, or I need a little bit more information here. Do you remember this? That's how that works. The detectives go to patrol and then say, hey, can you help us out with this or that? Maybe find this guy for me and interview him. Mm-hmm. I can't get him during the daytime hours. But our detectives they're not all going to have Monday through Thursday or Tuesday through Friday working 10-hour days with weekends off. I mean, they can stay on 10-hour days. I don't care about that. But at least there's going to be a detective on the weekends, and we'll see who wants to be the narcotics detectives, and we'll let them apply for that. But they got to know, I'll let you set your own schedule. You're more than welcome to set your own schedule, your own hours. As long as you're putting in your 40 hours a week, but make sure that you're working some Fridays and some Saturdays because that's when we're going to find most of our narcotics.
Well, they have to be available. Somebody has to be available and accountable 7 days a week.
Yeah, and you need detectives on the weekends because that's when it's easiest to go talk to your victims because they're off work. That's to go interview your witnesses and to find the suspects.
Right.
You got to be there on the weekends. You'll close most of your cases during the weekends. I mean, you'll get the information that you need. It's much harder getting that Monday through Friday when those people are at work and they're not able to talk to you. You're not able to find them because they're at their job and they. So that was another big one.
So there's 7 detectives that work there now.
Yeah.
And none do narcotic interdiction.
0.
Are there any homicide detectives?
No.
Okay. Are there any child or just in general sex crime?
I believe there is a internet sex crimes.
There's one that's
internet that's trained in internet sex crime.
A bird dog there.
Yeah.
Okay. What else is there for? What do they
I don't
do?
know. I don't know. There's not like a person that just takes personal property crimes. There's not somebody who focuses on person crimes.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
Are they just general detectives
Yeah.
that kind of cover everything?
Yeah, and
I mean,
and so they're
how
not
effective could that
Well,
really
it can't
be?
be because you got to have people trained.
You got to have
and you get-
specialists.
Yeah, and you got to get them trained and send them to training classes, whether they're
Right.
in state or out of state, to learn how to focus on these and be the experts in this. And for instance, and I said this on the radio show yesterday, let's say that one of the officers gets dispatched to the hospital for an assault victim, or on an ambulance call, they find somebody unconscious in the road that's been beaten and broken jaws, say head injury, whatever, they're taken to the hospital. No suspects, no suspect information, no witnesses, anything like that. Well, that patrol officer is now on that case for that 90 days. So it doesn't go to a detective. Like the next morning say, we've got this guy's hospitalized, he's beaten, and so the detective would go interview him, do that. That doesn't happen here. That patrol officer is the person that's supposed to be following up on this. There is no way that patrol officer has time to do that. That's not their job. It's not their job anywhere.
Well, I think the greatest example of that failure is, like, let's say, automobile theft. You spoke about chop shops being in town, and I believe you. Let's put it that way. So that's a crime that needs a detective, auto theft detective ASAP, because they don't keep the car parts or the vehicle intact for 90 days before they ship it out of Montana.
It's gone in a couple days. That's maybe in the next
24 or less, 12, just a few hours. It'll go there that night. They'll start stripping what they need, and it just all gets diffusely spread wherever it's headed. Or if it's a desirable vehicle, it gets put in a container on a train, shipped out of here, heading south, either of the border or just out of the country, right? So you need a detective on that. Not a patrol officer is never going to be able to keep up with the volume of auto theft when it comes to a chop shop. And then you need those detectives staking out the chop shops so they can raid them and put an end to it.
But here's the thing. How often have you ever seen where they accidentally stumble on one here? It never happens. They don't stumble into a house that's full of stolen items, and you figure out this is a stash house. So
if you ask them, we don't have that problem here.
Well, if you ask the officers and you ask the people who are getting stolen from in their neighborhoods, they would say there is a problem.
Yeah, I'm talking admin or some people that want to walk around with blinders on. That
you can't.
They want to drink the Kool-Aid of the administration, and there's some of our neighbors that drink that Kool-Aid. Yeah. They don't believe that that's the problem here. They don't see it. They don't recognize it. Therefore, it's not a problem.
Right. Well, they have their blinders on.
Yeah, they do.
And the problem is real. And all you got to do is stop and ask one of the officers, and say, hey, what's your problem with drugs? What's your problem with thefts here? With car thefts? With burglaries? And they'll tell you how bad of a problem it is. And there are simple solutions to fix it. And one of them is if you can get your patrol to be out there on patrol, not doing follow-ups from cases that are 30, 60, 90 days old, and out there having them actively on the streets looking for crime, you're going to be amazed at all of a sudden the things that get found here and the amount of drug trafficking that's going on here when those officers are freed up to patrol. That's why they're called patrolmen. They're patrolling. Not here. They should be called follow-uppers or
let's not forget,
call takers.
They're not just going to patrol. They're going to actually be able to put people in jail.
Yeah.
Which is,
and we talked about that. That was another thing we talked about yesterday. And the problems with the jail. And I talk to people daily on this, and I tell them my ideas, and I've yet to have anybody say it's a bad idea. I'm sure there's somebody out there that will come up with a negative, and there may be some negatives to it, and I'm not going to disagree with that.
You're going to have a small percentage of people that are going to discount.
And to some extent they may be right. But my plan is to look at the overcrowding and the understaffing in the jail, and we're going to look at those inmates who are there for nonviolent reasons, the ones that are model inmates. They're following the rules in jail. They realize they made a mistake. It's a mistake they're not likely to make again because they've learned the repercussions and they don't like being in jail, and they're model inmates, and we're going to put them on. We're going to go to the county attorney and we're going to say, this is the people we need out of this jail. Let's go to the judge, let's get them released on house arrest, let's put them on ankle monitors. Those inmates are going to be responsible for the ankle monitoring charges, and we're going to, part of their release is that they get a job and they become functioning members of society, and they're not taking up a jail space where we need those beds for violent criminals that are walking the streets, and we need those for people that are committing violent personal felonies and the drug trafficking. And like I tell everybody, I'm not stupid. I understand that some of those people, there's going to be one or two of them that are going to cut their bracelet off, and and you know what? We're going to go pick them up.
It's still a better system.
Yeah, we're going to go pick them up. They're going to go back into jail, and they're never going to get that opportunity again. They've lost that chance to ever be there again. We'll put them back in jail. But for most of them, they're gonna walk a straight line, and they're gonna be thankful that they're not sitting in jail, and they're gonna be thankful that they're able to spend their night at home in their own home, even if it is on house arrest. It's a lot better than being in a jail cell. And so the other thing that we talked about was the morale in the department. That's causing all the turnover. There's the problem exists on patrol. Obviously, we've already spoken about that. It exists. It's horrible in the jail. It's horrible in dispatch. Again, you've got dispatchers that are applying elsewhere. You've got a lot of the jail staff that are looking to leave, and they're just waiting. I don't think I'll probably be able to convince them to stay.
Sounds like you definitely have a resignation mutiny on your hands.
Yeah, they're waiting for their check.
Yeah, that's right.
And again, and yesterday Ron Davis asked me about it. He goes, well, how do you fix that? How, you go in there and you be a part of the team. You let them know they matter. You let them know you're going to have their backs. You let these guys know that you do the right things for the right reasons. Our administration is going to support you. We're always going to have your back. Justify why you did what you did, and you're going to be just fine. And that way, people, when they are able to do their job and they enjoy their job, they're going to be telling their friends when they're out on the weekends or they're out at a bar, I love going to work. I do this. The jail staff will say, hey, I love going to work. Our bosses support us now. We're getting the help we need in here. And then their friends are talking to their friends and saying, well, heck, there's an opening at the jail, and I talked to Michael Saul, and he was telling me how much he loves working there now. People then sit there and say, well, yeah, heck, maybe I'll go apply there, and they think, maybe it's a good place to work. You make decent money, you got benefits, maybe that's what I want to do. But if they're sitting there, if you're going out with your friends and say, God, I got to go work tomorrow, I hate this place, the job sucks, it's miserable working there, and then somebody is talking about, they saw an ad in the paper for an opening in the jail, and they're like, oh, don't do that. I talked to this guy, he says it's horrible there, he hates going to work. Well, yeah, and then when we send our officers to trainings and they're talking about how miserable their job is and they're not allowed to do this or that, well, then nobody from other agencies is sitting there saying, well, hey, I want to go apply at VIEW. But if the officers, when they're meeting other officers at trainings and they're talking about, oh, we love it, we love our administration, we're able to do this, and we're able to go patrol, and we're able to go after narcotics, and we're able to arrest people, and then all of a sudden it gets around through other departments, man, Butte's hiring, and those guys love it. Let's go to work. I'm going to apply over there. That's how you get people applying. That's how you get officers that are trained to come in and help our department. And you're getting experienced officers. Right now, we're not getting experienced officers. I mean, we've got a couple, but that have hired on in the last year and a half. But most of them don't have experience, and you're training them. And if you really go look at the patrol side, they're so young. I mean, and that's what happened. We lost all those senior officers, and now there's a vacuum there where you've got really, really experienced officers, or you got really, really young officers. There's no in between anymore.
And a lot of the young guys are having a disservice done by not having that mentorship from the guys that left.
Right.
And, you know, it's, you can learn on your own, but you're going to learn a lot of, you know, habits that could have been tweaked by people that already made those mistakes. That's what mentorship's about. I think once you take the helm as sheriff, as long as you empty the jail's numbers, bring them down to a reasonable, manageable number within a reasonable period of time, that in itself will make you a hero to the jailers.
Right.
And they'll stay. Because just that, I mean, you imagine what that looks like going to work. You're understaffed. You're, I mean, way outnumbered. And there's people, I mean, what was there, 120 plus inmates at one point?
Well, that's what there is right now. There was
Right.
almost like 150.
And it was built for 79,
79
souls. So I mean, that's ridiculous. That's almost double.
Well, so what you and I haven't talked about because you had to go have a heart attack was
It's stressful being your friend.
Yeah, we did our podcast last Friday, and then that Friday night there was another suicide attempt at the jail.
I saw something on a news thread about a guy with lacerations. Is that the one or no?
So we had the one last week that killed himself. That yes, you saw that was probably on my Facebook page. So this guy got a hold of a razor as well.
Yeah, that's right. I saw there's a second.
Yep. So he got a hold of his razor as well and was slashing his forearm, trying to commit suicide, and so he was of course taken to the hospital. The next night he reattempts suicide, and they have to take him back to the hospital. So what is going on in the jail? You know, I told people, you know, what I would have done was if I was sheriff, especially after the second one, without a doubt, where you're like, how many razor blades are floating around inside that jail?
I'm like, well, you mean you know there's
I know there's a lot
contraband
more.
weapons
Oh yeah, I know there's a lot of
everywhere.
drugs in there.
Because you can't. There's what? How many jailers work there?
I don't know.
There's 4 or something.
There's no way.
I heard it was 4 the last count.
So I talked to I talked to a female inmate previous inmate, and I asked her, you know, how long would it take you if you were arrested right now and put in jail? How long would it take you to score whatever kind of narcotic you wanted? And we could say marijuana. And I asked her, I said, heroin, methamphetamine, you know, fentanyl, how long would it take you in order to acquire those drugs from the time I put you in jail? And she said, depending on the amount of time it took me to get to the floor and to make contacts with the people, she said 3 to 4 hours. And I said, in 3 to 4 hours in that jail, you can get whatever drug you want.
It's probably already there.
It is.
I mean,
and she goes, well, you know, we have people there are people that get arrested intentionally that are hiding narcotics on them. The orders are made from inside the jail, and somebody will get arrested and bring in those narcotics and into the jail, and then they'll distribute them. And she told me, she goes, I can put those drugs inside body cavities where you do the bend over, cough, you know, all that stuff where you're not going to find them. And she goes, they're not going to come out when I bend over and cough. And she goes, you will not find them. And then that's how they're getting in the jail. Until they get an X-ray system in there, you know, some way you're not going to find them. But the only other way then to stop it is to do cell checks, and, you know, and start tossing these cells. And so what I told Facebook is, if I was in charge, if I was the sheriff, I would be calling in all my off-duty officers. I'd be calling in all my patrol and detention, and I'd say, we're going to toss the cell. We're going on lockdown. We're going to toss every single cell. And I don't care. I don't care.
Have to.
Yeah, I don't care. Oh yeah, I said I don't care how much.
Need scrubbing.
Yeah, I don't care how much overtime we're paying to do this. We're going to have an officer killed inside that jail, or we're going to have inmates killed. And the only way to prevent it now is to do a thorough tossing of that jail, and you gotta keep up on it, because you already know. This female told me they're bringing in drugs every week, every 2 weeks is when they're bringing them in for all the inmates, and so you need to be going in there. But right now they're so short-handed in there inside the jail, and you know that they're not capable of tossing.
Dogs through there.
Apparently, they're so busy we're not even able to check the razors the inmates are turning back in. Well, making sure that they're turning back in their razors, and that there is a razor inside what they're turning back in. You know, you get those little
safety razors.
Yeah, the safety razors that have like one blade, and you know, when they turn them back in, you check them out. We used to give them, I think at our jail, I think they had like 15 minutes to shave, and then you go pick them back up and check them and make sure the blade's there. But apparently they're so short-handed now, they don't even either pick it back up or have a chance
drugs
to do
and they're bringing weapons to everything, and it's probably stockpiled in areas, people's cells, hidden. I mean, when you toss that whole building, you're probably going to be blown away about the stuff you find.
Well, yeah,
it'll probably be like a federal prison that it's gonna, because it sounds like it's run right now like a prison, but a poorly run prison, where you have so to speak, the inmates are running the asylum. So you know, if you're getting that much drugs and contraband and weapons into that jail, not even a prison, it's a problem.
Yeah, well, I talked to one of the jail officers, and when they bring in the commissary cart to distribute the commissary that the inmates let, people just come up and steal off the cart. There's not, but they can't do anything about it. They don't have enough manpower to.
That's what I mean.
To try to,
these inmates get pissed off enough one day, they'll take that jail over, and it'll be a CF.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Of epic proportions.
Well.
And how and taking it back through.
You're gonna have to take it back through force, yeah.
Right. It will, and also poorly for folks, right?
Yeah.
And it's just bad on all levels when you gotta go that route. So preventing it to escalate to that point should be the absolute goal. Nobody wants to kill a bunch of inmates. The officers don't want to die from the inmates.
Right.
All kinds of horrible things happen in jails. Media coverage, the optics on that, it's like Butte loses control of jail, multiple officers and inmates killed in the retaking of it. The whole thing can be avoided just by manage the damn jail. It's not rocket science.
No,
you're not splitting atoms here. This is just ridiculous laziness, ignorance on management. It's just poor management.
Well, you can, one of the things that you can do, I mean, when you have those problems is, reach out to the surrounding counties that are also having some overcrowding issues, and, work with them, say, what are you guys doing in there that's working for you? How I don't think they're short staffed like the Butte Silverbow jail is, but they are overcrowded as well.
Move them to a remote site, offset it.
Well, then you got to find a place to hold them. But
don't they have a training range they never use that has acreage?
Yeah, you mean for the inmates?
No, for the officers. Isn't there a training facility that they don't use much, like their gun range or
and to use it for what?
For training, for their officer training.
Oh, they can do officer training. I'm just saying.
Don't they already own land though?
Yeah,
because in other agencies, when their jails get overcrowded, they put pods out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, but that doesn't. I don't think that's. Well, you've got environmental conditions here. You've got so many things. I say you just clear out the jail, but you ask the other. My point where I was going with is, you talk to the other jails that are having overcrowding issues, and you say, what are you doing, to manage the contraband coming in and out of the jail? What's working for you? And find out. Reach out to those people, and because you got to work with other departments to try to figure out, what they're doing that's working, what they've tried that doesn't work, and get some ideas to help you maintain a safe environment for the inmates and the detention officers.
But isn't there a significant percentage of non-violent offenders in there?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So let them. I know they can't afford their bail, so they're doing time.
Oh, there's several in there that
right.
Can't. Yeah.
So like you said, I mean, it's so easy. He could have stole a page out of your cookbook, throwing an ankle monitor on him, putting them with a parole officer, send them home, and you take your numbers down right there. I mean. That's what I mean. That's what's frustrating about this. It keeps going.
I've literally gifted them.
Right. That's a great idea.
Everything that I can gift them, and basically said, take it and run with it, and just do it. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, if I knew what I know now, if they'd have taken those ideas and just done it, and I saw it change in in the department, I probably would have said, I'm done with this, because I'm in the campaigning part. The political part is a nightmare. You know, if I had seen change, if the officers come, oh my God, they've done this, it's so much better now, and now we're doing this, I probably would have said, okay, let them do it. You know,
there's a difference between actual change and political optic change. Right?
I know that.
It's like gas prices went down before the election, but they go right back up afterwards. So I mean, even if he was to adopt that today, would it stay?
Oh well, at this point, absolutely not.
Right,
I'm saying when I first started coming up with ideas back in March and April, I would have said, oh, okay, you guys, they got this now, and they're running with it. And no, at this point, I know they're not going to make any changes. They dug their heels in and just said, we're not going to do anything
different. It's a good process.
Different.
We're not going to do anything different. So aside from the jail and all the shortcomings of policies, there's been an uptick in I think across the country in elderly financial crimes, right? Going like that here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I remember. There's so many different things. You know, they take advantage of them. There's all these scams that are going on, and we've posted on it before, and then it's a couple of weeks later. You know, there were some scams going on, and that we posted on it right away on our Facebook page to let people know, and it's a week or two later that the department finally posts something on their page, and it may have not even been the department, it may have been the Butte Silverbow page, and there's things going around right now, and that I've seen other departments posting on some elderly scams, and nothing's. I haven't seen anything on Butte Silverbow's page. So, you know, as soon as those things hit, you know, start going around, and we see other departments or we get calls on it, and typically you do get calls. So people will come in or they'll call you and say, "What's going on? I just got this phone call. Is this true?" And at that point, you know something's going on. So you just make an information post so people are aware. Hey, we've got something going on here. You know, letting everybody know, you know, ahead of time that you know somebody's trying to scam the community, and you know we'll be on top of that, and we'll let people know. We'll post about it right away, and let these people know. The other thing I did this week is I met with the Montana Standard, so I did an interview with them for the upcoming the election, and so they'll be posting. I'm not sure when that comes out, but had a good interview with them, and you know, talk to them. You know, the other thing that we're going to do, and I told the newspaper this, and the reporter is, and I asked him. I said, you know, right now you have to go to the station and try to dig for news and things like that. You know, what's going on at the department. That's not going to be happening with me. We're going to tell you when there's a news story. We're going to be the ones breaking the news of the news story to the reporters. Mm-hmm. We're going to have our public information officer on any big scene we do, once we hit a house with search warrants, you know, whether we've got a hostage, whether we've got an armed robbery, you know, as we're working that, we will have a public information officer. We will have a staging area. That person will be on social media. He'll reach out so the press can follow our social media pages. So that we'll have a time and date for news releases. So for there, we'll say, okay, 11 o'clock, staging area is going to be at this location. You know, it'll be several blocks away from where the scene is, or a safe area away. It could be a block away, just depending on what's going on. You know,
right,
and this is where the media staging area is. We'll have an officer there. He's going to give you the most up to date information we have. And then we'll let you know after that, you know, once he gives that information, when the next press release will be coming, you know, where we'll release that, whether it be on social media or whether it's going to be in person. Typically that person is going to have the authority to speak for me and my administration on what information they release. And then once the scene or whatever is cleared down, then I'll give the final, you know, news release or whatever, how that's going to work. But the press, we're going to be very, very open with the press. We're going to be open with the public on what's going on, what we're doing, you know, and it's going to be real-time information. So you're going to see if there's something that's concerning that the public needs to know about, we will be having that information flow freely from our department to the public, to the press.
Yeah, as it should be. And that'll regain and repair the relationship.
Yeah.
And it'll bring trust and faith in the department.
Well, there's, you know, most departments a quarter this size have public information officers nowadays, and that's been going on for Oh boy, well over a decade. I know that.
I mean, there's departments and agencies, whether it's law enforcement or fire, that have had that for 30 years.
Oh yeah, I mean, you go on. Geez, a lot of the state patrols, a lot of they're tweeting out real time information. You know, they're putting that on public. You know, boom, this road's closed. We are responding to, you know, an injury accident. There may be road closures. You know, before they even get there, you know, they're informing the public about what's going on, so the public has a heads up. You know, so there's things, you know, all our trainings, you know, that if we're going to be out and about using a school for whatever training, you know, that's going to be posted days in advance, you know, so the public has plenty of opportunity to know, so they're not freaking out if you're using the school for, and they start hearing the alarms, they're going to know. We're going to have signs up, you know, reflective signs, you know, the neon orange say training in progress, you know, so people know that, hey, this is what's going on, and so they don't freak out or get worried, you know, that something big's going on. It's just you got to be in front of the people. You got to let them know what you're doing, what's going on, keep them informed, and with that they feel a lot more comfortable and safer by doing that.
100%. So is there anything interesting coming up this week, next week rather?
No, just
this weekend.
We just got we're going to do some door-to-door stuff this weekend, and I think Home Atherton is having their retirement get together at their fire station for all their retired members, and it's pretty cool. And I know a couple of candidates were personally invited to that, and we got invited to that. So we'll go to that and meet some of those guys that I think is really cool that they keep recognizing their old retired members and the people that paved the way for them. And so we'll go to that, and then of course we've got the forums coming up, and so yeah, that's going to be our next week, and I'm sure that there'll be more things put on the schedule. Typically, I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I've got nothing today, and by the end of the day, I've had 2 or 3 events I had to go to. So
I see your schedule and stuff you post. You're a busy man.
Yeah, I'm just ready for November 5th to get here and be done with, and then I'm taking a vacation. So.
We get a weekend off, and that's
a weekend. Yeah, then maybe more like a week or 2.
So when do you? Okay, so I'm confident. I'm going to call the shot here. You're going to win the election. When do you take over?
I don't even know the exact date. You know,
I tried to find that, and I looked it up.
I can't find
the process, and it's like crickets.
Yeah, I'm not really sure the exact date.
I almost hope it's November 6th, because I will literally just have the biggest smile.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not November 6th. It'll be January, and I'm not sure. Obviously, it's not going to be the first. No,
it's typically in January, but I don't know, right? Because there's a little bit of things are done a little different with that whole. There's the merger between the departments. I don't know when. Maybe on their bylaws you take over, in November. I don't even know.
No, I don't. I
doubt
think that, but I mean, I would hope that if we win, that the administration would work with us and get us involved in what's going on, or the hirings that they're doing, or things like that. I would hope that would happen. If I was in their shoes and I happen to lose an election, I would definitely be working with the incoming administration, so it was a seamless process. And I can't say that I believe that they would do that. I have no faith that they would, but I would hope so. But if not, I'll be meeting with the officers on a regular basis. Probably, if we win, that within a couple of weeks, I'll have a dinner or something, where I invite the officers to come meet with me and kind of get a sense, this is what's going to happen on this date when we take over. Just be prepared and just get to know them all and let them know that, hey, things are going to change, and let's stick it out. And I probably should do that before I actually go out. If I were to win, to go on a vacation, is get with them and say, hey, stick it out now. We did this, and now give me a chance to prove that we're going to make a change.
Yeah, well, you could if it's hard to do damage control if you can't get people together, you could always just do a press release or media interview.
Yeah.
And say, to everyone, this is what my plan is.
I don't think it's going to be hard to get
I don't think so
in front of them. So it'll take a group text message, and I think they'll all be on board. So
I would agree.
Yeah, I've got their numbers, so it won't be difficult to do.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, can't wait for election night.
Yeah.
When
People laugh there because they're like, "Where's the party going to be? Where's the election party?" That I will be. I can probably tell you that I'll go do something that night, but with the way Butte Silverbow elections work,
you won't know till the next day.
I'm not going to know till the next morning because
So
I'm
we'll
going to be so mentally exhausted. I'll probably be asleep by 10 o'clock that night, and I can guarantee you that the election results aren't going to come in until sometime in the middle of the morning. And so I'll check my phone when I wake up in the morning.
So you're not. I mean, you got to have. We all have to be together at your campaign headquarters.
Well, we'll do something, but.
And you just got to start hammering the no-dos, bro. You can't go to sleep.
I'll go to sleep.
That's your big night.
Trust me, I'll go to sleep.
We're going to poke you and wake you up.
I'm not going to stay up for the last one. I'm like, I'm not. I think I left around 9:30, and I guarantee you I was asleep by 10 o'clock.
Before 4th of July, you went to bed at 7, and you went to bed at 4 in the afternoon.
No, I didn't go to bed at 4. I like everybody needs to leave so I can start preparing for bed. And then I go feed horses, I go do that, and then, I kind of turn on my TV, and then by 9 o'clock I'm done, and so.
That'd be cool to be able to go to bed that early, but there's always too much to do. I'm usually in bed by midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, not happening for me. I'll go to bed, and
there's always
I go to bed early typically, but I'm an early riser, so if it won't. I mean, don't be shocked if you see me at the station at 5 a.m., or taking the midnight guys to breakfast, or, the night guys, meeting them for breakfast at 5 in the morning before they go home, because I get up early typically, so, but I do go to bed early, so.
We got to do better than that in the election.
Yeah, I will not make any promises.
Big celebration for all your hard work.
I was with one of somebody that's in this election. I was with him yesterday, and of course he's running for office too, and we were talking about that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not staying up, and he did for the last one. I'm like, not happening. I can't stay. If it was like where you could call the election by 10 o'clock at night, yeah, but not here. It's not gonna happen.
I'm gonna talk to Curry about that.
Yeah. Well, she will, but she also knows that I just turn off my phone, so. I know Curry will start. She'll be 10 o'clock at night. She'll be texting, and I thought of this, or sometimes 4:30 in the morning, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? Go to sleep, And
I understand how she thinks though, because when there's something like, if I'm running for office here for anything, we're renting a venue. There's balloons dropping.
Lord,
we're partying, brother. Because you got to give back to all the support and all the hard work. You got to celebrate that. It's gonna, there's fanfare involved. So I'll talk to Curry. There'll be 40 of us in your living room till 2 a.m.
You can be right there in the living room, and
40 of us in your living room till 2 a.m.
We're
like, Mike, get up!
I'll release the border collie, and she'll clear that house out because she'll be nipping at everybody. So
I'll bring some food for her.
That doesn't work, trust me. The dog's got me more times.
That's funny.
Well, let's end this up, and
man.
then we'll be back next Friday, and
for episode 14.
Yeah, we'll be able to talk about how the common sense conversations went the night before at the Butte Silverbow Center, and hopefully my opponent will be there. And
that's next Thursday.
Next Thursday, yeah. So it's on my Facebook page. I posted it yesterday when they sent out the invite. So we'll do that, and I'll let you know how the door knocking goes, and putting up some more signs.
I've seen a lot of signs that say Mike Gage.
Yeah, I got some more signs finally going up on Dewey. I've hit the area. So Butte Silverbow, I keep getting messages going, how do I get a sign? Again, just message me on Facebook, text me, whatever. We'll have one out same day, and I got a couple more going up on Dewey Street this week. So that's pretty much the only street I've been lacking on the main streets of town. So
I still need a couple signs.
I know we're just they're not cheap. You know, there's things that are expensive, and you know, people they disappear quickly too sometimes. So yeah. I haven't really had that problem this time around. I mean, I have some disappear, but
I was thinking about that.
I know Matt.
So I could have a sign.
I saw that Matt Enruth posted that he was losing a lot of them, and I saw Frank Joseph posted that he was losing a lot of them, and so.
It's because you guys are incumbents, so there's folks here that are drink the Kool-Aid.
Well, that's true. I guess we are all incumbents, aren't we? So
yeah. So
yeah,
you got Kool-Aid drinkers that are like, you know, I've known this guy since I was 5.
Yeah.
They're ripping your signs out because they got blinders.
Yeah, you don't know if they're kids just going around either, or somebody that has more nefarious ideas. You know, like I don't want these signs being seen. You know, so.
Well, that's exactly what
Yeah.
it is.
So anyway. Yeah, well, thank you, and we'll see you next Friday, and I'm going to go out and start doing some walking and talking today, so.
Should be a pretty day for that. It's
Yeah,
going to get a little windy here.
Yeah, I want to get it done, and
couple hours.
Yeah, I saw we were under fire weather warning, so unfortunately, you know, with Boulevard normally gets calls to those fires, you know, those wildland fires, so.
You had one on Saturday out here. Wasn't it Saturday?
Yeah, right before the.
Right before you
oh yeah, so that was right before my event. I think it came in like at 3:00,
Yeah.
and
You called me and
I told you to look outside.
I finally found it.
Yeah, you're in the midst of your heart attack, which I didn't know you were having. I'm telling you to go look outside for the
I didn't know
fire.
it was back.
It's probably the fire, probably me.
It was
you
the
running
stress
outside
of
to
you
look at
having
the
me
fire.
find the fire that did that to me.
Yeah, and then Curry was like, "Don't you dare go," you know, and
no, you can't.
And I was looking, I'm like, "Oh boy, you know, I can't miss my own fundraiser because of this fire call." So I didn't go on it, and yeah. So I owe the guys. So if there's one this weekend, I'll go to.
Well,
it
I hope there's not going to be one, right? You know,
well, you
because
know,
we got so much high wind and the humidity's at 15% today.
Yeah.
The conditions are right.
Yeah, there'll be something that'll start up somewhere. Just hopefully it's not out this way, and hopefully everybody stays safe and has a good weekend, and we get through today's weather without any major fires. So
or loss of power.
Yeah.
From the wind. Well, I was going to ask you and the folks that Todd, Staten, Rhonda, and everybody that supported and created that fundraiser, if they could do one more for you so I could attend this one.
No, you had your one chance,
Damn it.
and the ticker decided to try to quit ticking on you. So you lost your opportunity.
My heart rate and blood pressure were beautiful during the whole thing.
Yeah, except one artery wasn't working.
Except one artery, I lost an engine.
Yeah.
Well, hey, brother.
You only got 3 of them, right?
So it's fine now. Plumbing's all good, but yeah, folks, get checked. That's my message to you, because hell, I mean, I didn't feel.
How old are you?
I'm in my 40s.
Good. Yeah, that's young. So.
I'm in my 40s, so it's I didn't have short of breath. I didn't have any. Get checked. Doc says when it's genetic, it's a silent killer.
Yeah.
And you don't want to wake up dead. So.
Yeah.
So go the extra mile.
Oh, yeah, but if you want to know how much everybody cared about you, they were still, when I posted that, people were like, what about the podcast? Everybody was worried about the podcast. Are you still going to have the podcast? Then, of course, I knew you were in ICU at the time, and it's me. And I'm like, well, even if he doesn't make it through this, we're having the podcast. So I'll just tell Ellie that, hey, sorry about Mike, but can I use the studio still?
I'll haunt you.
So we were showing up for the podcast one way or the other, and I told people, I'm like, I don't really know how long he's going to be in the hospital or what's going on. I'm like, I may have to do this as a solo, and I'll just come speak, but yeah, you having a heart attack wasn't going to stop the podcast. So
yeah, I fully intended on. I knew I was going to do it today, even then, because I wasn't that sick from it. It was just bad back pain.
Yeah.
So it's like.
Well, you were that sick. So I mean.
Yeah, I was, but it wasn't like the traditional deal that's usually described. So I mean, but I feel perfectly fine now. I feel actually, and allegedly after everything heals, I'll feel even better. According to the doc, it happened slowly. I didn't realize I was not at full capacity. So I'm curious to see how I'll feel in a month when everything's.
Well, I'm just letting you know, if she had scheduled a funeral for you at Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning, the podcast was going on at 9 o'clock, we would have said our little goodbyes to you over the podcast, and the podcast would have went on a schedule. So that's how much we care about you, Mike.
You know, I appreciate that, and I feel the love. You know what I would have done, Mike? I would have waited for you to get elected, and then when you're working late at the police station, I would have thrown stationery from your desk across the room.
Yeah, well,
I would have haunted you.
Hey, at least we checked in on you, and you got a lot of support, and so yeah, it's we're glad you're doing good and feeling good, and we'll see you next Friday.
100%, brother. Have a good weekend, everybody,
You too, buddy.
And you take care.
Bye.
Bye.